around, all you corpses, ghouls, and fiends. You're in for quite a treat. It's the most terrifying time of the week. It's time for the Cryptic Creepshow with your hosts,
Mary Mortem.
And the very morbid Marcus. Welcome to the Cryptic Creepshow, everybody. I am Marcus, and I have...
Mary Mortem.
Shalise Blythe.
And Madam Moody.
All right, and we are talking witches and creepy stuff, and... What are you looking at me like that for, man?
I don't know. It's just... Never mind.
We were
talking about the movie The Witch.
Well, we're talking about The Witch and witches in film and misunderstood religions today. So, Mary.
Yes.
You recently went and seen The Witch, as did I last night. And did either one of you two go see it?
No. Not till tomorrow.
Not till tomorrow?
I wish. I did not have time.
So I just want to warn everyone that we're probably going to give spoilers away.
That's
so
fine.
If you haven't seen it and you're one of those people that don't want spoilers, you're not going to be able to listen to our show right now because we're totally going to spoil the movie for you.
Most definitely. But let's get into some horror news real quick before we go into any of that. So, Mary, do you got any horrific news for us?
I have a couple items.
Okay.
The first one being that if you're a local... Calabrese, which is a horror rock band, will be playing tonight at Club X, which I believe was the previous Club Vegas, so right next to Area 51. It's at 8 p.m. You should check it out because it's less than $20 to go. So if you're a fan or you don't have anything good to do tonight, just go. I'm really disappointed I couldn't get them on the show today. I tried. So.
Damn it.
I also found out that Mr. James Wan of Insidious and Saw franchises is interested in directing the Mortal Kombat new movie that's coming out.
I also just seen that as well. That will be very exciting if he does that because he might be able to reintroduce that series into a better light, so to say.
I actually never saw the Mortal Kombat films. I saw Street Fighter once as a child.
Okay.
Didn't like it, so I didn't bother to see Mortal Kombat, but I am a huge fan of the games, like, since I was a wee child fan.
It's like a childhood thing for me.
Yeah,
Mortal
right?
Kombat?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, I love how terrible that movie is.
The first one or the ones that followed?
Every single one of them. The first one's a classic, obviously.
It is.
But all the ones following that are just...
They're
it's just a guilty pleasure.
It's full of cheese. And
Yeah.
it's cheese-tastic.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Most definitely.
It's just bad action. And whenever you have bad action in a movie, it's bad. There's no excuse around it, I guess.
Got you.
I also have another piece of news.
Okay.
So, for the long-awaited fans of Tiger Army, they will be releasing their 5th studio album this spring. So, we can look forward to that for any peeps out there that are Tiger Army fans, because it's been since 2007, so almost 10 years since they released a studio album. I'm hoping that it will sound more like their first 3 albums and not their last album.
Right on. Awesome. Well, anything on your end that you got to...
Those are all my pieces of horror news.
My 2 pieces are John Carpenter just released a new track for the Lost Themes 2. I don't know if any of you guys ever listened to the Lost Themes 1.
Yes.
Awesome. Epic.
Oh, ogre.
And now he just released the first single from that. You can go listen to it on YouTube right now. Literally, it's like the first stuff, man. It's just so epic and good.
Excited.
And he's also touring again. I think I mentioned this last show, but he's out with his sons and he's touring. They're not coming here, sadly. Of course not, exactly. But, so, that is going on. And also, they have confirmed that Stephen King's It is going to be made, and they also confirmed that they're not going for the PG-13 rating anymore.
Yay!
Straight rated R, none of the made-for-TV crap. So
that's amazing.
that will be awesome as well. So let's do some guest introductions. Moody, let's go with you first.
Yes.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, I've done cosplay for quite a few years. I've, sewn since I was a little girl and all of that, and just kind of exploded with all of that. Mostly started out with haunted houses. If anybody knows the Rocky Point Haunted House, the beloved,
Aww.
right, started there.
Rocky Point.
Right, Sydney Neal, if she was here, I would totally like.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I
No.
think we should just take a moment of silence for Rocky Point Haunted
Right,
House.
yes.
Okay, that's
Yes, me and my boyfriend, actually, that's where we met. So
Aw.
kind of a little sweet love thing going on there. But always done horror stuff since then. Work at Fear Factory right now, doing all of their costumes, and love it there.
How do you like Fear Factory? And have you experienced? So I've read several articles that it's actually, the location is actually haunted.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious, how do you like it? And have you experienced anything unusual?
I haven't done anything very specific with it. I know that we do a lot of like paranormal stuff. Like a lot of people will go there to do recordings and do little sessions there. There's definitely a vibe. Like I felt the vibe because, doing the costumes and stuff, I have to be there off season and when actors aren't there because actors screw things up and I hate that so much. But with the vibe there, it definitely adds to it. I mean, just sitting there alone, you kind of get that weird, like, who's watching me type of vibe. But I haven't run into anything personally, not yet.
That's good.
So, yeah.
I think depending on where I was, I might crap my pants if I was just sitting there waiting to scare somebody in the dark.
Oh, the silos, big,
Yeah.
giant round things.
Yeah,
I don't know
no.
how they do it. I get creeped out just walking in them. So I have no idea how they do it in there.
Now, real quick question. Were
Yes.
you working at Rocky Point Haunted House? I mean, this was after they closed, but I think they still had like a little bit of a core staff. And they filmed a movie there.
Yes, they did do a movie.
That is awesome. I don't know the movie's name right off the tip of my tongue, but when I watched it on Netflix, of all places, I was like, it just brought back so many memories.
Right?
I'm like, I remember that. So, I mean...
I don't think I was there for that. I mean, I was kind of on the tail end of everything. It's, it's my home and everything like that. But unfortunately, I wasn't there for very long.
Yeah.
But being friends, I'm still friends with so many Rocky Pointers, the legends, and Sydney Neal is an amazing person. And just, I wish I could have been there for that. But there's a lot of homage to it. A lot.
I only got the opportunity because Rocky Point is... It's one of those core things about Salt Lake. Like back in the day, like Salt Lake was known for a few things and Rocky Point was one of them. And it literally was up in the mountains. And I remember my sisters, who are several years older than I am, would go during October. And I remember my mom driving them up there in the middle of the night so they could go to the haunted house and like picking them up. And then they moved just down the street from... Well, not down the street from where we're at, but like a few blocks from here.
Yes.
And they reopened and it was... I think I only saw them... Not the year that they closed, but the year before that, when they did the Pirates of the Caribbean, when that first movie came out,
Yep.
or when the second movie came out, because they had Davy Jones.
Yeah.
And that was the only time I went, but it was such a great experience, and I was sad that I wasn't old enough to go when it was on the mountain.
Right?
Because I
Right?
heard, like, amazing things about it.
How
and,
amazing. And
And the owners were really passionate about it, so they went all out. They would, like, order stuff from, like, actual, like, filming studios, rent them, and...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's legend for sure.
Yes.
Now, do I understand this right? You were a winner of Fan X or one
Oh
of
no,
those?
I was a finalist.
A finalist.
I didn't get to win, unfortunately. It was kind of more like a test run for me personally. It was I didn't even expect to be a finalist, to be honest. Like, even with the experience and all the gears under my belt, it was more like, let's see what prejudging is like. And then all of a sudden my name was on there and I was totally freaking out. I'm like, I have to go on stage. What am I going to do? And all of this stuff. But it did kind of feel really nice. We're going to do it again for this upcoming Fan X.
Awesome.
So hopefully we can get maybe a little bit in there.
Awesome.
So
Sure. Well, check Moody out, man. She always looks horrific.
Thank
as
you.
always.
thank
She
you.
looks really amazing. You guys are missing out.
We will definitely
we're gonna
get
take
pictures
pictures.
of both of you. So.
We're not assholes. Like, dress up to come on our
Yeah,
radio
yeah,
show where
exactly.
nobody will see you.
Mary, why don't you introduce our next guest?
So our next guest is Shalise, and she's a very, very good friend of mine. I've known her since she was in high school. And she's joining us today kind of last minute just to chit-chat with us, but she'll be talking more about religions with us later on. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Shalise. Tell us about yourself.
Something about myself. I'm Shalise, and I was asked to come on here because I kind of subscribe to alternate religion, and I'm currently trying to get kind of a big satanic community together in Salt Lake City. I think we have quite the environment for it, considering where we live, and kind of needing a kind of a counterculture, to kind of offset the just the
religious uprising.
The regular that's going on, right?
Well, fighting fire with hellfire. There
you go.
So, just trying to get the. I consider myself a satanic activist. And so that's kind of the whole point, is just not only do I want a community of Satanists, but atheists, and just, a lot of camaraderie with, anybody who wants to join, who feels like they, share in our ideals. So that's kind of where.
So almost like an open alternative community, for lack of a better word. Because I don't want people to get stuck on like the whole satanic, like, you're gonna go more into it, but I hate when people who, regardless of what religion or practices you follow, like, there's always a stigma associated for whatever it is. Absolutely. So I want you to just know that it's more, I want to, not you personally, but our listeners to know that it's more or less just a community for people who are against organized religion, or who don't necessarily follow an organized religion, or things like that. I don't want people to get stuck on, oh, well, she's a Satanist, I'm not going to listen to what she has to say, because that's not what it is at all.
Yeah,
so
that's okay. I wouldn't listen to me either. But no, it's So I'll get more into that, and kind of the goals of what I'm trying to establish here in Salt Lake, and seeing just trying to build that community. So yeah, we can get more into that. So yeah.
Well, awesome. So, should we start talking about this film that was just released last night?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I mean, it's been released for a year now. It was doing a bunch of those.
Sundance. It premiered at Sundance.
Huh.
So I don't know if that was a year ago, but
No, that was within the last month or two.
Month or two? Oh, okay. But it got some really good reception up there, and I want to know what Mary thought of this film before I start.
Oh no!
I know she's just gonna reach over the table and slap me. But
No, you're going to be pleasantly surprised, Marcus. Before I say anything, okay, before I even start on my soapbox, I just want everyone to know that for how it looks, for what it is, for the acting, for the creepiness in it, if I had to give this a 4 out of 5 star or 5-star rating, I would give it a 4-star. Me personally, though, like, my personal opinions, I want to bring it down to a 3.5. So with that in mind, I'm going to go into it. So I picked this as one of my hits for the year when we did our very first show. And I picked it based on the fact that they were going to tie into, like, the history and kind of like the witch scare of that time, and the Puritans and Pilgrims and all of that, which I really love. And it was also witchcraft, which has always been interesting and will always be interesting in my opinion. So I was super excited to see this film. Then I saw them on RoomWorks Cover Story, and I read that all the way through, and I was super stoked about this movie. I'm like, oh, it's like a fresh face in the horror community. He's done his research in terms of the time and accuracy and how it's supposed to look. He is putting in a real witch. It's not going to be like in their mind. It's not going to be hysteria. There really is going to be an entity that's evil. And there's no way that this movie could possibly turn out bad. It wasn't bad. But it was not what I thought it would be. And it was not executed in the way that I would have executed it. The setting was fantastic. It was very foreboding. And it played into the whole religious aspect of, when you see it in the preview, you see exactly the area. So it's like this landing that's a field, and then at the very edge of this field is this huge forest that's very densely populated with trees. And because it's so densely populated with trees, it's very dark. So the setting, the ambience of the setting is very striking and just right on. It's almost like they left the town and they found this perfect place where they could just build a little farm, and so they felt that God was smiling upon them and things like that. So that was perfect. The cinematography, in terms of like how they filmed it, was amazing. What I didn't like about it was I didn't like how little I actually saw the witch, the goat, the rabbits, all the creepy ass things. We only saw them a handful of times. And what really disappointed me more than anything else was the fact that he still played upon what the Crucible played upon, which was the hysteria between the family and them turning against each other. And even though the witch was real, they still created even more fear and more worry by accusing each other of being a witch. So I was very upset about that because it seemed very tired. It's been done before. And also with Thomasine having... Ultimately, at the end of the movie, she's in a situation where she has no choice but to go to the witch. And that just seemed tired and overplayed as well. So all of my excitement about being it new and fresh was not... It didn't get met. So that was my feelings about the movie. But it was genuinely... It had some good parts. It looked really good. If you're intending on seeing it, I would recommend it. But if you're kind of... undecided, I would wait until it gets on DVD or the Dollar Theater.
Well, there we go for you. There we go for me. It was boring as shit. I mean, I went into this movie and I'm sitting next to my wife and we're watching it and I literally was on my cell phone looking at the time. I'm like, it's been an hour. Nothing's happened. But that being said, okay, it does a lot of things right. The cinematography, like you said, is gorgeous. The score, whoever scored the movie, was amazing because it's not music per se, but it's just the undertone of the music that follows the scenes is like, ooh, so creepy. Because it's not one of those movies that relies on jump scares. It's very unsettling stuff, and the music just adds to that. The acting, I thought, was phenomenal. You have these actors that not only are they acting great, but they have to act in that old style English of this, 1630s?
1600s.
Yeah, the late 1600s. And it's like the old English, so...
Exactly.
Where is thy brother? I love
like
thou'st.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, whoever did the set design, amazing as well. Just, everything was put together well. Where it lacks, I think, is it's a slow-burning movie. It's just so slow, it bored me. The backstory is almost non-existent.
Right. That was one of my problems with it.
It's like, okay, they're getting kicked out of the town.
For what reason? That was exactly what I said when I left. I'm like, why didn't they establish why he got kicked out of the town? I want to know.
Another problem I had with this movie is this is one of those movies where not only is it Old English and Old dialect and the accents and everything, to where it's already a little hard to understand for our new wave English minds, whatever you want to call it, but whoever designed the sound and did the final mixing and editing, there's scenes where it's so damn quiet that I can't hear anything they're saying. And I'm just like, so it's going to be one of those movies where you turn up really loud at scenes and then you forget and something happens, you almost blow your damn speakers out.
And then you get kicked out of your apartment and
Pretty
everything.
much.
It's like, thank you, movie.
Like
That's awesome.
Interstellar.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That movie, oh my god.
Sorry, that was the only
No,
place
it
that
totally
made.
was though, and that movie was frustrating as it is, and then you get jumped out of your seat because of the fucking sound. Bastards!
Yeah.
Damn you, Matthew McConaughey. Always movies I don't like.
But I mean, for being Robert Eggers' first
Right.
shot at a film debut, he did a really great job. The story is so-so. I don't know. I mean, go see it. I think it's worth a watch.
So I'm going to challenge you on a couple of things.
Okay.
Slow paced, yes. Boring. I think he put enough scares in there for it to avoid being stagnant for most people. Also, you focus more on the tangible aspects of a movie, whereas I focus on more of the storyline and what I think the director was trying to go for, the writer, whoever in the hell it may be. So with that in mind, I'm totally challenging the fact that you're like, nothing happened. That is totally not true.
Okay.
Because right after they got kicked, first of all, the movie opens with them getting kicked out of the town. We're already there when the movie opens. So he wasted no time in getting us to the creepy ass woods. And then the second thing that happened was the baby went missing, and the way the baby died was totally gruesome and heart-wrenching. And that happened very quickly as well. And that was our first peek at the witch, and he just threw her out there right away.
Okay, and it's like a slow burning movie. You start a fire, or like you light a match, it lights up real quick, and then it burns down slowly.
I understand what you're saying.
Oh, everything came in the first 10 minutes, and then it's like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm watching like
but you said
Little House on the Prairie meets.
But you're like, oh, this is so boring and nothing happened. Like, that wasn't true.
That's not my only opinion. The other thing we do with the Horror Junkies of Utah, because we already shot and did a review on this last night. It's on YouTube. Go check it out. But we sit outside the theater and wait, and we listen to everybody's reactions, because everybody talks about a movie as soon as they exit the theater. And that is the same thing I heard from everybody. So boring, so weird, not scary, just very... And I didn't have a lot of those beliefs, but I mean, I can see where a lot of people are coming from.
No, I do too. Like, in terms of like pacing it and not, that's kind of what I said. He had great scares. He just didn't utilize them enough, in my opinion, in order for it to be a scary movie. I feel like he played on the historical accuracy and the drama as opposed to the horror part of it.
And I never got the aspect of it being like it was a scary movie. It's a very unsettling movie. I was never scared. I was never like in my seat. I was just like, there were times, like you said, the baby scene, I was like, man, that's fucked up, you know?
Well, and the dog scene really killed me too.
Oh, God.
So
Dogs.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let y'all know a dog dies, so be prepared for that.
You cry more about that than anything else.
Yeah.
Like
The baby was pretty bad.
Babies and animals.
Yeah,
okay,
like the baby was pretty bad.
I got a question for you. The most unsettling scene for me was the breastfeeding scene. You might
I
think
wanted
so,
to. I won't. I
don't want to ruin it, but it was so weird. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay, and this is where we always disagree, is because you don't see the purpose behind it. Like, yes, it was.
I've seen the purpose behind the whole scene.
I don't think you do.
Okay, let's go. Let's hear what your purpose is.
Okay. I know which scene you're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. And this particular scene has like a crow or a raven in it. Yep. I just want to let you know that a raven and a crow have been considered in many cultures and for many centuries messengers of death. They're also a bad omen, foreboding in the sense of you're the next to die, essentially. So we have a crow in the scene where something has just occurred, right? And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Something has just occurred. People
about.
who are no longer in the area are now in the area, right? I'm just gonna spoil it for people. So her children die and her children come back in this scene, right?
And then
they essentially turn into a crow. So there's a hidden meaning in that. It's that the mother essentially was the next to die, and also that her children were coming back from the dead in that moment. And I don't think you recognize that because you don't focus on the storyline.
No. So what? Like, I'm not saying it was bad. I'm saying it was the most unsettling scene in the movie. To see a crow literally breastfeeding, picking at her nipple, and it's just like all falling apart and stuff. That was unsettling for me.
It was unsettling, but I
That's
think you're
not
missing. No, I'm not saying
I
it's
get
not
the
unsettling.
point of it,
I think
and
you're
I understand
missing the bigger
that.
picture of it.
No,
Is this a Sundance film? Because
that's okay.
That's what I'm thinking. Is like it sounds like a Sundance film, not a people film.
It was more of an artistic film.
Okay,
it went
that's
to,
what I'm getting.
Film, definitely.
It went to Sundance. I think it also went to the Toronto Film Festival as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it went to both. So it's one of those movies that made its debut in the independent scene before it got to the big screen. But Trick or Treat was exactly like that, and I think The Crow, correct me if I'm wrong. No, The Crow wasn't.
I don't think The Crow was.
There was another movie like that, though, that's really popular now that I can't think of.
Like the pop culture everybody loves, but
yeah,
it's
everybody
never
loves
really
it,
been.
Or like Napoleon Dynamite. There
Yeah.
we go. Like Napoleon Dynamite was like a Sundance film, and then it went to the big screen, and then everybody
everybody
was fucking voting for Pedro.
Yeah.
So,
which, by the way, he's a DJ. I don't know if anybody knew that, but
Pedro or Napoleon?
Yeah, Pedro.
Oh, okay.
At one of the Comic-Con bashes, he was like, "Nope, let me take over," and he's actually really good.
Wow.
Like everybody was like, "Yeah, let's party," and he was
I'm
really,
totally
really good.
voting for Pedro now.
Yeah,
Know that
he's got skills. Just saying.
He can So, but this is what
But
our entire
hang on,
argument
I
is
want to
about.
let our two guests know that this is every fucking show.
Yeah.
We're like bantering
I've been
back
listening to
and
them,
forth.
so I'm
And it's in
And-
our personal lives
And
too.
Shalise
and
knows
Facebook
me personally,
and
so she
everything,
knows
so
how I love
it's
to banter.
Fucking.
But as I said, you always pay attention to the tangible aspects of a film, whereas I follow the storyline and the more artistic vision more. And that's why we always clash heads, because I'm like, yes, it was disturbing. But what was even more disturbing was the fact that he was using that to scare the audience in a way that was like artistic and
Well,
like
then 90%
foreboding.
of the audience didn't get that.
I'm just
But
saying
no,
people
I'm
need
just-
to be
I'm
more
just saying.
educated about horror films if they're going to go see them, is all I'm trying to say.
Go get a degree, people. All right. Anyways, we've talked about The Witch. We've got you gave a final rating on it of like a 3.5.
My personal score is 3.5 out of 5 stars if we're going that route.
So did it live up to the expectations for you, or did it fall short? I mean,
I
they're
can't
kind of mixed.
I can't answer that because I want to say no, it didn't live up to the expectations I had of it, but I can't do that because I can see what Eggers was trying to do. And as an artist myself and as a story writer myself, and having the knowledge that I have of that time period and also of The Witch and knowing all the effort he put into it, I can't do that. Like, it would just be asinine. It would be asinine for me to be like, oh, that movie sucks ass and blah, blah, blah. And I have friends that liked it and are still going to see it. My boyfriend loved it. He thought it was amazing. And what did it for him was the way it looked and the fact that it was unsettling and that he played on the religious annotations and things like that. So to each, it's just a film where I just want to say to each his own. Like, if you can pick up certain parts of it, it definitely was a cathartic movie because I feel very passionate about it after watching it. But overall, it would be a 4. But for me, it was a 3.5 because it didn't meet my expectations.
Got ya. Well, I don't do out of 5 ratings. I do out of 10, and mine was like a 4. So.
Well, of course it was.
He's too busy on his phone checking the time.
Right?
Yes, I was.
Wasn't even trying to get entertained.
It's
No
'cause
boobs
I wasn't. No.
in the woods. There's no witches.
Hang on.
No, there was boobs.
There's
There was
there's
boobs, but there
in this
weren't like
movie,
there weren't like full frontal like nice boobs.
They weren't sexualized,
No, they're very
basically.
yeah. It's very off-putting.
Right? He's like, no, like there's no real boobs.
There
There's
was a
gross
boob for the
boobs.
sake of boob.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we go to a quick music break and then come back and talk about witches in film history?
Sure. So before, I don't know the name of this artist because it's not on here, but the song is March of the Damned. So we're going to that.
March of the Damned. We will be right back.
right, guys, we are back. So we just listened to Black Lullaby by Locals Arsenic Addiction. And then we had a song by the name of March of the Damned, but I'm not entirely sure which band it is. So if you know what band, let us know so that we can give them credit.
Can I say something really quick about Arsenic Addiction?
Yes.
I know that band personally. They worked at Castle Chaos. Amazing people. I just need to say that. Cause they're
Did you
amazing.
work at that haunted house as well?
Oh, yeah. I'm
you've
kind
been
of like
all over.
I'm a haunt whore. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. I've got to admit it. You know, it's my problem.
That's okay. I'm a horror whore.
Did you ever work at Nightmare on the 13th?
No, but I know a lot of people there. I almost did, but I kind of leaned towards more Fear Factory because it seemed newer, and I wanted to get a fresh start with them.
Yeah, one of my buddies works at that haunted house. I was just curious. So.
Yeah.
Shalise actually went to high school with some members of Arsenic Addiction, and that's how I met
That's
them.
insane.
So we've
I've known them for many years.
Yeah, you've definitely known them longer than I have, but you're the reason why I met them. So
That's awesome.
Even before they were Arsenic Addiction.
So we're going to talk about witches basically in culture and history and modern film and literature. So who wants to start us out?
I want to know what everyone's favorite witch is from film history. Like, if we go back to the Wizard of Oz and bring it forward, what's your favorite witch? Who wants to start?
What's the standard? Like creepy
I don't think
or
there needs
just
to be
in
a
general?
standard, just-
And wait. Are we
Wait,
doing
wait.
Are we doing actual witches, or are we doing
No,
any
witches in film. Just that's what I want to know.
just witches in film? So something I've seen on a big screen.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
exactly.
And
Unless
and
you
are
have,
we including like fantasy witches or sorceress like Maleficent? Like are we
yeah,
including
because
her?
I'm looking
Okay.
at this list right now, and
Okay.
they're on there.
That's what I need to establish.
I'm gonna have to see that list because
I like the Witches. Is that the movie? Like the
Yes.
I was just going to say that too.
Yep.
Angelica
Creepy.
Houston,
Oh,
the
God,
Grand
yes.
High Witch.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
man,
She is on here.
that
She's
is just just that. Just
The Grand
she's
High Witch.
So creepy. Creepy,
Yes.
and I love it. I love like old films like that because it kind of plays on your imagination more.
It does because they're using actual costumes and props
Yeah.
instead of CGI, so it's more tangible. And
Yeah.
you're like, it's real.
It can happen. It can happen. That's probably
Definitely.
my favorite. Is her? She's amazing.
Yes. I'm gonna go with Agra from the Dark Crystal
Oh.
because
Oh,
I
God.
fear that
Agra
movie. I fear
it
it.
is fucking amazing. And Agra, she's like my spirit animal. I love her.
Oh, I can't think of that movie. I have bad thing. People would call me Gelfling at Rocky Point.
Why is that a bad thing?
sad.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. But the what are they? The bird things, and one of them gets,
Oh, the Skeksis?
and then they
Yeah.
get stripped or something. I just remember that part and freaks
Yeah,
the
the
crap out of me.
Skeksis are fucking terrifying.
Ugh.
But the Gelflings are awesome.
The Gelflings are
Especially
cool, yeah.
The best part of that movie is when Jem's like, I don't have wings, and I can never remember the girl's name,
I
but
know.
she's like, well, of course not. You're a boy. I'm like, yes. For
Yes.
once, women get something cooler than
Yes.
men. So, Shalise, do you have one aside from Angelica Houston and the Witches?
I'm having to refresh my memory, so I'm gonna have to. You're gonna have to come back to me.
All right. Well,
Oh, you
here's
know what?
I'll-
Okay, you know what? I just figured it out. Why? Because it gives me nightmares. That witch from The Conjuring.
Oh yeah.
That bitch
Ooh.
is responsible for so many sleepless nights for me. And it's really, I think, like, of all the films I've seen, including that has anything like that, obviously it's more of a possession film, but you know the character, the female was supposedly
It's definitely
a witch.
in,
That I don't know of any other film where I've actually lost sleep over watching that movie. Like I know
Really?
it's I just there's something about it that just creeps me out. Like the scene where the main Warren God, what's her name?
Ed Warren or Lorraine.
Lorraine Warren.
Warren falls down the chimney into the basement.
Yes.
And you see, and the body just drops, and then just slowly turns around the feet. I don't think I've ever been more creeped out ever. So that's one. I think I'll come up with another one, but that one keeps standing out in my mind just because that freaked me.
Yeah, that was a pretty scary one.
Yeah.
The Blair Witch also creeped me out, even though you didn't actually see her.
Mm-hmm.
That movie.
But that's what worked so well is
You
not
didn't
imagination.
see it.
there
Exactly.
was like, wow.
The creepy lady that they interview that like is a little off her rocker, and she's like, and it was like a fur, you know, kind of like a horse fur. Like that lady's fucking creepy too, and you almost think that she's the witch because she's so creepy. I also want to mention since Moody and I we mentioned a lot of 80s films.
Mm-hmm.
The Swamp Witch Meg from the movie Legend. Have you seen that?
Oh,
Yes.
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 Fucking terrifying. When
I
I
haven't seen
saw
that
that
so
movie
long.
for the first time, I think I was probably about 4 or 5 years old.
Oh my
And
god.
I remember being terrified of her. She looks a lot like the Grand High Witch
Uh-huh.
without her makeup, and she's just like hunched and fucking coming out of murky water and just fucking terrifying. Like everything
I
about
haven't
her
seen
is
that in
so
so long. Oh.
so scary.
Legend, that's with Tom
Cruise.
and-
Tom
Very,
Cruise.
very
Tim
young.
Curry's
And
in
Tim
it,
Curry.
'cause he plays the devil
Tim
guy.
Curry is the shit.
Yeah.
He
So-
is the shit.
Fun fact, Marcus. Like I remember when you were reading my story and you were asking me about like the demon. Just so you know, that's where I got the view of my demon from was that movie because
Oh,
Tim
really?
Curry also scared the shit out of me when I was
Oh.
little.
Every one of it. I mean, when he played Pennywise, he did. I mean, for how underplayed that TV short was,
Yeah.
he did such a great
He's
job.
amazing.
in
He
that
did.
character.
He's an amazing actor. Everything he's done, he just puts us all in.
Have
He's
you
so-
seen the Criminal Minds episode with him?
I think I've seen parts of it. I think I saw half of
It's
the
like
episode.
it's like the King of Darkness or Prince of Darkness
Yeah.
episode, and
just
creepy.
he also did the voice of like this is a way long ago, but Fern Gully. For people who
Yes,
are
he did.
for people who are not old enough for that movie, it was Avatar before
Yes.
James
Before,
Cameron
yeah,
stole the
Avatar.
concept.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
basically
So-
Avatar is
Fern Gully. It's
It
fucking
is.
Fern Gully.
I totally didn't even think about that.
It is. It's Fern Gully. That's why I never saw that movie. I'm like, they ripped this shit off from Fern
I
Gully.
didn't even think about that. He plays the smoke.
He plays the smoke, yeah,
basically
and just
the dirty stuff.
his
and-
voice where it's like all gravelly
Yes.
and
Do
like
you,
spooky.
do you guys know how he's doing? After
Last
his
I
stroke
heard,
and
he was
everything?
actually going to be cast in the new Rocky Horror.
Yeah, I heard that. It's like a side
didn't know
character or
that.
something, or
I don't. I
a
thought
narrator.
he was a
he's
narrator.
narrating
Okay,
it. That's it.
that was the last I heard, and I think that was after he had his stroke.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
he's
So I
getting
think
up
he's-
there.
Yeah,
He's still doing well.
he's doing okay. Yeah. He's doing well. I have to mention it because I love this film despite that this is going to be the least punk metal satanic thing I ever say, but The Witches in Stardust.
I don't think I've seen
I
that.
haven't
Do you
seen
not
that
see
either.
Stardust?
They are creepy.
They're creepy as shit.
They
And then,
are.
Oh man! And,
I have to Google it.
They're
Michelle Pfeiffer is the main witch, and she's the one that goes out.
Oh yeah,
She's- yeah.
She's like haggard and beat up.
everybody
well,
is.
eventually.
Is this
she
like
is.
a children's movie
It's
or?
based off of what was it Neil Gaiman? Didn't Neil Gaiman write Stardust?
I don't remember, to be honest.
wanna
I'm
say
I'm
that,
not
but,
sure. I remember
Anyway,
how much I
it's
love
based
it.
off of it's based off of a novel, the movie, and so it was
I didn't
released
know
back in '07, I think, and it's a
It was
guilty
that long
pleasure.
ago? I feel old.
Yeah.
We also have
Neil
to do.
Gaiman did write it.
Okay,
he
I
wrote the
was
novel.
just like I could have sworn Neil Gaiman did write it, but yeah, so it was a movie based off of that novel, and I loved the witches because they're evil, and Michelle Pfeiffer is
Cackling,
just
the
sexy
cackling
as
is-
hell.
They-
Right?
They're like
Right?
they're like the hag witch. Like the
Yeah.
like when you
Yeah,
hear
the
the word
traditional-
witch, you think
well,
of
and
the hag witch.
Yeah, and so they to restore their beauty, and then kind of what their whole goal is to eat the heart of a star, and that regains their youth and their vitality for hundreds of years. And so
That's really interesting.
Mhm.
So instead of like eating babies and like animals and shit,
no,
they
the
just
heart
eat
of a
stars.
star.
The heart of a star.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That makes more sense than eating babies.
Yeah.
yeah.
In terms of magic.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Just
don't you know
saying.
only Satanists kill babies.
So is my pick a hag witch then, like the Wicked Witch of the West from?
Yeah,
Is it
Yeah.
she's like
She's
a
like-
she's a hag witch.
And unless
So
you're thinking
I'll go into
Wicked,
that a little bit more, but there are different types of witches. Like
Yeah.
just like there are different types of pretty much anything.
Yeah,
There are different categories of witches. But yeah, she would be a hag witch.
she's like for me when the first word that goes like when I hear witch, that's what
That's-
my
yeah.
mind goes to is that old green
Wicked
big
Witch of the
nose.
West, yeah.
Making
Speaking
her
of which,
monkeys.
I'm doing Zelina from Once Upon a Time. I don't know if anybody watches that show, if any of the listeners do, but that's what we're doing for FanX is
are you?
Rumpelstiltskin, and her name is Zelina.
Oh,
So everybody knows Rumpelstiltskin.
Sorry, I've seen the pictures because all my friends on Facebook are fangirls. So that's
He's Mr. Gold.
dreamy.
Oh, Mr. Gold. I love my boyfriend, if he can hear me. I do. But
he can.
he does a very good Rumpelstiltskin to laugh everything. But just a side note, that's what we're doing is Zelina, who is the Wicked Witch of the West, and she is a bitch. Just saying. She is a bitch.
I want to make an honorable mention to the Sanderson sisters for
Yes.
Hocus Pocus as well.
Yes.
Because
Amazing.
being a horror kid like from the 80s and 90s, that was a staple. That was a staple.
Okay,
You
well,
have to.
if we're doing that, then we have to say Ursula the Sea Witch from The Little Mermaid.
Yes.
Yes.
Tentacles.
Fun fact about that as well.
Hentai.
She's actually I read somewhere that in obviously Hans Christian Andersen's version, he intended her to be Triton's sister.
Yes.
And she
yes.
lost her ability to the crown, presumably because she became a witch.
I didn't know that completely until Once Upon a Time. They actually touch a lot of like real legends on it.
They do.
And they kind of play on that a little
That's
bit.
really cool.
They do.
Yeah.
You have to be, if you're going to watch any Disney film, you need to actually read the various versions
The
of the
myths and
folklore
the
that they're
legends.
taking back.
Yeah.
Because they do a good job in touching on that, but they always twist it to, a
Whatever they
totally
wanna
different
do.
version.
Right.
Obviously, The Lion King is Hamlet. So
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's just with lions.
When people was like, "Oh, really?" and I'm like, "How did you not make that connection?" I mean, that's kind of a little bit obvious there.
Yeah, I just didn't notice it. You know what I mean? Like when
Yeah.
someone pointed it out, I'm like, "You're absolutely right. Why did I
like
not
it was
see
there.
that?"
Yeah.
Because they were fucking lions.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys see Snow White and the Huntsman?
The first one, yes.
I did, yes.
What's the witch like in that film? I've only seen previews.
She, she played her as just that kind of that quintessential narcissistic, evil, I obviously, I only watched it with about half my attention paid to it,
Yeah.
to be completely honest, but I do love, what's that actress's name?
I wanted to say Uma Thurman, but
No,
I'm like, no,
it's not
that's
Uma
totally
Thurman.
wrong.
It's,
Holy cow.
Charlize Theron.
Charlize
Yes,
Theron, yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful woman.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and I just visually, I think she was perfect. I mean, if
She
I was
was.
just gonna simply base it off of if I only saw the trailers, if I only just saw like her in the costume or anything, I just say, God, she's just.
Beautiful.
If I think of the queen from Snow White, she'd be perfect.
They casted that perfectly.
So, I think she did, but.
Yeah.
Another really scary witch, the Beldam from Coraline.
Oh, God.
That bitch
I
is
haven't
frightening.
seen it.
that movie's shot in like that old school 3D look too, right?
Well, it's the
It's-
animation like.
It's
Yeah,
stop
but
motion
it's-
animation.
Yeah.
You can get it in 3D though.
Yeah, I do have it in
released
3D,
it in 3D.
and it's old school 3D with
That's
the
what I
blue and
said.
red. Yeah.
Yeah,
But they didn't film all of it in that. They had two versions that they filmed, but it was just stop motion animation. And
But
they
I
put the
thought
3D
primarily
in.
that's what they were going for was a 3D film with that.
I
Or
can't
just
remember
like-
when it was opened. I know they had both, but it's stop motion animation. So knowing
Yeah, most definitely.
with stop motion, you can't. I mean, with the special effects with the CGI that they did, of course they can do 3D. But with stop motion animation, you can't do that because you're using raw materials essentially. Like it's like using puppets and things. So
Mhm.
they have to add that stuff in after they film the movie.
Is
So
that like Nightmare Before Christmas
Yeah.
type
Yes.
of idea?
Yeah.
or
Okay.
so you would also know it as claymation. The
Yes,
the difference between claymation, they're both stop motion, but the difference is claymation, the puppets are actually made out of clay, whereas stop motion, they're not necessarily made out of clay. They're more like dolls or like
and
movable
Coraline,
puppets.
and Coraline was
Gotcha.
puppets.
Right, it was puppets. So it was stop motion animation, and so they obviously filmed it, and then they would have to go back in and do the 3D for the actual characters.
Yeah,
But their
it's
CGI stuff, they could have done easily 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I actually just watched it again last night, and you can actually tell there are certain scenes where, because I remember when it came out in theaters, and we did watch the 3D version, and they actually had some basically, money shots where they did certain scenes that if they were in 3D, they look like they go right across your face,
Yeah.
stuff like
Exactly.
that. So I can tell where they inserted those scenes just for the sake of the 3D, but.
Yeah, because they
because
can't.
it was released on both.
It was released on both. I'm just saying, like, they can't really do that because they chose to do it in stop motion. So yes, it was 3D, but it's not the 3D that we have now that's done with
Everything is
2 cameras and all this.
two
crazy
cameras, special
stuff.
cameras.
Right.
You can automatically write the 3D into the editing process because your images are images and not tangible shit. So that's what I was trying to say anyway.
What about what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say Beldam. She's fucking frightening. Like she's like I like to refer to her as the craft witch.
Yeah.
Because like it's almost like she's the witch of craftiness, and I'm like I don't want to piss her off. So whenever I make anything, I pay homage to her. I'm totally kidding, but she's frightening.
So witches in history then. I mean, we've covered cinema pretty well. Now let's go back to where it all came from.
Who wants to start? Because I have lots of information.
I would have to really think about that one. That one's kind of a bit more tricky.
So
it looks like it's you, Mary.
it's always me. Plethora of useless knowledge.
I was just
Right.
going to say that. Literally on the tip of my tongue, and you said it.
Plethora. Okay. So I'm on history.com. Good old History Channel. I love them. Salem witch trials.
Abigail Williams.
Yep. So the infamous Salem witch trials began during the spring of 1692 after a group of young girls in Salem Village, Massachusetts, claimed to be possessed by the devil and accused several local women of witchcraft. As a wave of hysteria spread throughout the colonial Massachusetts, a special court convened in Salem to hear cases. The first convicted witch, Bridget Bishop, was hanged that June. 18 others followed Bishop to Salem's Gallows Hill, while some 150 more men, women, and children were accused over the next several months. By September 1692, the hysteria had begun to abate, and public opinion turned against the trials. Though the Massachusetts General Court later annulled guilty verdicts against accused witches and granted indemnities to their families, bitterness lingered in the community, and the painful legacy of the Salem witch trials would endure for centuries. So there's a lot of debate about the Salem witch trials. Obviously, there wasn't any demonic or witch present, but the debates always come back from, were these girls who were teenagers and just going crazy? Were these girls that did it on purpose? Were these girls influenced by their parents to get land?
From my understanding of the Salem witch trials is they were in a room, 4 of them, with a servant girl, and she was foretelling their future. And one of the girls ended up seeing a coffin, who knows why. And this is my understanding. I'm not saying this is truth, but... And then from there, she talked to her parents, blah, blah, blah. It spread. And then also there was a huge thing with the township at the time. Your major mayor guy was like, more money for me. And the families that were involved in this were, like, against it. I don't know. I did a lot of reading before this show to try and pinpoint it, but it seems like every website has its own.
It has its own story, and I've just general education. I remember learning about the Salem witch trials a couple times in history, and of course, every time each teacher had a different reason why they thought that they were happening, and still to this day, that's what I mean. There's still argument to this day about what actually happened in Salem. You are correct. There was a servant. Tituba is her name.
I was just gonna say Tituba.
I know it's the name in Crucible. I'm 99% confident that was her name. She was one of the servants to one of the girls. She was from Haiti, so she still practiced a lot of her Haitian rituals and religion. A lot of that area in the world practices like voodoo and hoodoo. There is a difference, and hoodoo is something real. That's not just a fucking word I made up, just so y'all know.
No, it is.
So
if anything,
explain hoodoo real quick.
I don't think I can explain it that well because I've never researched it. I've only heard bits and pieces from my boyfriend who has researched it. So if I Google it and I look at Wikipedia, it says African American hoodoo, also known as conjure, root doctoring, or working the root, is a traditional African American folk spirituality that developed from a number of West African, Native American, and later on incorporating European spiritual traditions and beliefs. The spiritual principles and practices are similar to spiritual folkways in Haitian, Jamaica, and New Orleans. It is believed hoodoo evolved into the Mississippi Delta, where concentrations of slaves had been dense. It doesn't really tell me what it is. Hold on.
And all I can think of is you remind me of the Babe.
Right? Babe with the power.
What power?
Power of voodoo.
Voodoo.
You do?
Voodoo?
Mind me of the Babe. I love you, David Bowie. It doesn't really tell me, but from what I can hear, it's like the purpose of hoodoo was to allow African American access to supernatural forces to improve their lives. Hoodoo is purported to help people attain power of success, quote unquote luck, in many areas of life, including money, love, health, and employment. As in many other spiritual and medical folk practices, extensive use is made of herbs, mineral parts of animals. So, according to Wikipedia, it sounds more or less like any type of witchcraft, like
A more broad generalization of.
Well, so with hoodoo and voodoo, there's the dark side. So each form of witchcraft, regardless of what sector you belong to, has a light and dark. Mm-hmm. Hoodoo and voodoo, from what I understand, focuses more on the dark, but it's all witchcraft. Going on, she practiced those things. She did tell fortunes to these girls because these girls were young and curious about like who they would marry, if they would be pretty. They're teenage girls. Mm-hmm. Like teenage girls never fucking change. No. Like I don't care if you're religious, non-religious, or whatever.
You're the first to tell me that.
Like man. They don't change. They're all the same. We're all just the same. So they're just being teenage girls. They're taking an interest in it. A parent catches them or something happens and the girls get scared and they admit it, and Tituba gets in whole hell of trouble because she's, black servant. And that's kind of where it began, because after that, one of the girls started saying that she was like experienced weird things, that she was possessed, and the other girls kind of latched on. My personal theory is that it was really just hysteria from a bunch of overdramatic hormonal teenage girls. I believe, I'm sure that Tituba was doing rituals, and that probably freaked them out, and made them even more paranoid, having been so religious. And that's and then the hysteria just spread, and awful things happened, like hysteria always does.
Would you like to know what they defined as the symptoms of witchcraft back
yes.
then?
Oh, no.
Symptoms included neck and back pains, tongues being drawn from their throats, and loud random outcries. Other symptoms include having no control over their bodies, such as becoming limber, flapping their arms like birds, or trying to harm others as well as themselves. So anybody exhibiting any of those, no matter their age or context, that would feel the craze.
It almost sounds like the same symptoms that you see in like movies and things about being possessed.
Yeah.
So it's almost like if you were a witch, you were possessed by the devil.
Yeah, well, and I would attribute it to, if you see people who have, certain viral infections, or if they have some kind of brain tumors, or if they have, any medical condition like seizures. If somebody was epileptic, they could see that as being possessed by the devil and being a witch.
Fear what they don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're considering the environment that they were in. The whole point of coming to America in the first place was to, the Puritans disagreed with the main religion overseas, so they came here, and the whole belief was that this was their destiny. America was their destiny, and their way of life was the right way. So anything that was other was, in effect, Satanized, or, anybody was considered a witch, and so that's kind of where the whole, that just follows you through the ages. It's not just a Salem witch trials phenomena. It just, anything like that.
Whatever we can't understand has to be.
When I was looking up witches, the first term witch came from Germanic history. That's where it was just born out of that.
Fun fact: English and German are one of the few languages, aside from Asian languages, that are not derived from Latin. Both English and German are Germanic in origin, and that's where a lot of our words for things like devil, witch,
come from that.
Whatever, they come from
Germanic.
Germanic, yeah. I'm like German.
But it's quite interesting. When we decided on this show, I went the opposite way. I was like, I'm not going to research the European culture witch, the American culture witch. I went and looked at like the African culture, like the witch doctor stuff, and their term of witches, and it's interesting. Like even up to now, in some of those, lower civilized countries and stuff. Just recently in 2014, there was a case where they had burned alive 14 women of a village accused of witchcraft, right?
Yes,
Wow.
and just recently, as in within like the last few weeks or months, they I forgive me, I know it's in an African country, but I can't remember which one it is. There are cases of children being abandoned and murdered because they're being accused of witchcraft for very similar reasons, just mass religious hysteria, and just hundreds of children are just being abandoned, and they either die or
attacked by animals
Yeah,
because it's
I mean,
Africa.
So that's been making the news the last couple weeks.
That's really
Wow.
sad.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Part of the world is still thinking that way. It's insane.
Since you mentioned witches in different cultures, I kind of want to. This is something that I don't think we've talked a lot about on our show. Is that in a lot of Asian cultures, regardless of what deity they're talking about, they embrace it, because a lot of from like what I know and from what I've researched is that a lot of Asian cultures, they have the same feeling of there's a light and dark to everything. And so when you think about a lot of their folklore in terms of like witches or ghosts or spirits or demons, a lot, depending on where you are in those cultures, they can be interchangeable, but they embrace them in terms of like they give them respect because it's just a part of life. I feel like in the European culture, they did the exact opposite. They're like, we're men and women of God, so we have to banish this. It's not natural. It's not part of God's will, and so it doesn't serve us. So we need to get rid of it right away. Anything that's associated with it, anything that might be associated with it. And I almost feel like had the Europeans adapted in the way that a lot of Asian cultures did, we probably wouldn't have had any of this happen. They would have just been like, don't stay out late at night because the witch is gonna get you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead, they're like, we gotta go out in the woods and find the fucking witch and bring it down and burn its ass. Like,
Well, and my thing for witches is, I see it as like a blanket term. Like, I don't like that person, I'm going to claim they're a witch.
and a lot
Kind
of
of
that.
like
Yeah.
in the Cold
They
War
are
era,
other,
where it was,
Yeah.
they're a card-carrying communists, them sons of bitches, get them. Like, you didn't like that person, you just throw that term at them.
And I have no doubt that that's what occurred in Salem from time to time with some of those people. Again, I think it was just hysteria. It was a snowball effect of like girls playing around and then feeling guilty and getting confused because they're repressed.
Well, and that's what I mean. Like I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Good Night, Good Luck.
That sounds familiar.
It's a black and white recent movie, but shot all old school. And when I watched that movie, I was like, man, it's based on that Cold War era, where everyone was afraid of communists. And that's just like the next thing. Okay, so now we've disproved witches exist, sort of, whatever you want to call it. It's not the new in thing. What's the next thing? Oh, we're going to go with communists. You're a fucking communist, get them, burn them.
Then after that, the Satanic Panic.
Yeah, there you go. And it's just like a reoccurring theme within society. Like, what term can we come up with to throw on people we hate?
Yeah, or what people who are not us do we need to fear next?
Yeah, exactly.
On that note, should we turn the discussion over to the
The misunderstood religion?
Well, yeah. I kind of want to say it in such a way where I don't because the last thing I want to do is offend people. Religion is a very sensitive subject. We're already kind of bashing Christianity as it is.
Have you listened to this show?
True. Even still, I guess religions of the dark side of life do exist, and they have totally different meanings. So we'll steer the conversation that way. And I do just want to say to anybody, me personally, whatever you believe, more power to you. So I'm not a bigot when it comes to any religion, except maybe Scientology. Just kidding.
Damn you, Tom Cruise.
Just kidding.
Well, should we go to a quick music break and bring it back to misunderstood religion, or you just want to go
I think we should start and then do a break in between.
All right, let's just go at it then.
So would you like to start? Would you like to
Would
shart?
I like to start?
Would you like to shart? Would you like to
Hopefully
start?
not anytime soon. Sure, I can start.
Well, hang on. Before we start, obviously everyone in this room has a different religious preference.
Mhm.
Yes.
What is yours?
Who's
I really don't
yours?
have one. I mean, obviously.
Moody's. Oh,
Moody.
I'm sorry. I forget. We're not being videoed. Like, yours, right here.
Sorry. Yeah, this is Moody. Hello. I don't really have a preference. Obviously, being in Utah, I was born Mormon and raised that way. And I kind of fell away from that. I kept some of it in my heart, kind of a little bit of the values, but it's like, I've got tattoos and drink and all of that. So I'm more of a free spirit. It's kind of hard to explain.
Would agnostic be a fair word? Like, you believe that there is some sort of higher power, but you don't have it defined?
Yes.
Okay, so
yeah.
for lack of so in a general term or lack of a better word, agnostic.
Agnostic, yeah.
So we're going to go this way because I'm going to make Chelsea start. And after this, we'll probably actually do a music break and then we'll come back.
I'm just a straight up atheist, man.
There's so much I like. So
What?
many questions.
There's no questions on that. I mean, I grew up through high school and junior high and all that reading like the Anton LaVey Satanic Bible and all that. And I still very closely relate to all those beliefs, and not even beliefs, more like philosophies. But I myself, when I just look at like an afterlife in itself, I just can't bring myself to believe it. Richard Dawkins, he wrote a great book, The God Delusion. If you ever have an opportunity to read it, just do it. He's amazing.
So I have quite a few atheist friends, and I like a lot of the arguments that atheists have. There's nothing, like, I don't think there's anything personal wrong with it. I think it's awesome. Me as a person not believing in something, whether that be an afterlife or higher power or whatever, just based on my experience, is not possible. So I'm always curious to know, like, the atheist perspective on things solely for, like, so what does happen when we die, in your opinion, and things like that. So we'll probably get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
But,
I think we did get into that a little bit on our...
a little bit when we did our death show that
so.
We haven't been able to relocate. Damn it.
It's lost
It's
somewhere.
lost,
Damn
guys.
it.
Sorry. John, if you're listening, you need us to help us find the file. Help us, John. Help us. Me personally, I like to say I'm pagan, and I use that in the broadest aspect possible. I believe I believe that God exists. However, I believe there are other entities that he works with, essentially, in order to make everything happen, in an essence. That's the easiest way I can explain it. I can go into more depth later, but so I believe that there are multiple deities or entities that basically run our universe or our Earth.
You need to read Stephen King's The Dark Tower.
I probably do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of books I need to read.
Have you read that whole series?
Not the whole series.
It's a good series, but I haven't read the whole thing.
Oh,
it's
man.
so hard. I love Stephen King. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes
like, when she was giving her religious kind of beliefs, it reminds me of that book series. So,
but so paganism is generally just doesn't fall into like Judaism or Christianity, and it's essentially believing in multiple gods is like the basis. When I look up the word like pagan, it says something close to that. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Can I give you like a broad generalization of what I interpret a pagan as?
Yes.
Just a witch. That's me, and that's because I know nothing about paganism. I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but that's what I think of pagan. Oh, aren't they witches and play with like runes and stuff?
I thought people
Wiccan
would like
is-
Wiccan is more.
Is that more?
Is
Wiccan?
that yeah?
Okay.
They consider themselves witches and warlocks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got ya.
So the word pagan, this is dictionary.com. A member of religious, spiritual, or cultural community based on the worship of nature or earth, a neo-pagan. Despairing and offensive, a person who is not Christian, Jew, Muslim, a heathen, an irreligious or hedonistic person, an uncivilized or unenlightened person. I'm using it in the most broadest term possible, which is irreligious or hedonist. I can't pronounce the word. Hedonistic. Thank you. It's way too big for me to pronounce. So I'm using it in that term. So when
Okay.
I say pagan, I don't want people to be like, no, you have to be a child of the earth to be pagan. You have to be Wiccan to be pagan. Those are both pagan as well. But I'm using it in the broadest term possible because what I believe is my personal beliefs. No one else believes in them. Therefore, I don't have a word for them.
So kind of like even like so pagans. Correct me if I'm wrong again. Like the 5 elements of the earth type thing. They're way into that.
That's more
is that
like
more
Wiccan
Wiccan?
and like other witchcraft
just-
A
I
religions.
lot of
understand.
people do confuse that. A lot
Yeah.
of people will confuse Wiccan and pagans.
But they're one and the same though, because it's a word in the English language that has multiple definitions. I again am using it in the broadest aspect of the term. But people who belong to a religion that is technically a pagan religion, such as Wiccan, or there's other witch religions out there, but Wiccan is just the most popular one. They're still pagans too, because there's more than one definition for the word. So, and Chelsea, what are your or Shalise? I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Life
I-
harder.
Oh
I'm
no,
sorry.
they're gonna find out who I am.
No, Chelsea's just my nickname for you.
Yeah.
That's
We'll
what I'm
edit
used to
that out
calling
in
you.
post, so it won't be on the YouTube show. But you're screwed if they're listening live.
It's all good. I would consider myself an atheistic Satanist. So I am a member of the Satanic Temple, which is I would describe so LaVeyan Satanism, which you have mentioned before. They are also an atheistic.
Exactly.
They are also the atheistic in that we do not worship a literal Satan. We don't believe a literal Satan exists. So the idea is that Satan is more of an allegory. Satan is more of a metaphor for the fallen angel, the entity that gave the gift of knowledge. He was the one who rebelled against the ultimate tyrannical force, and was the inquisitor, and questioned questioned God. So when you say you're a Satanist, essentially you are saying that if you're an atheistic Satanist, it's more of a I'm trying to think of a word and I can't quite grab it out.
So I just want to, because this is what it sounds like to me, and I want to clarify. So it's more or less the idea of Satan based on the Bible. He was a fallen angel that fell to hell.
No. So we draw more from kind of the literary Satan. So if you've ever read Anatole France's Revolt of the Angels, or Milton, so Milton's
That one.
Revolt of the Angels. I'm Googling it right now. What's
Nope.
the other one?
Milton. What?
Milton. But what's his name, though? His first name. Is his first name Milton?
No, sorry. You guys are going to have to edit this in post. Why is it not coming to me right now? Anyway, the literary idea of Satan is the ultimate rebel against tyranny.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I studied Anton LaVey Satanism. Where is the big difference?
So the difference between somebody who they don't like it when you say LaVeyan Satanism, and they're considered the Church of Satan. So the real difference between the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple is essentially so the Church of Satan has more of they do kind of have like a belief in magic. There's a bit of a mysticism. They do have it's like if you will something, if you you have these incantations you can do, you kind of do these spells. If you will something your way, then it will happen. And so there's a little bit more of a mysticism in their belief, and they also have more of kind of like a social Darwinistic point of view, which is the mighty shall inherit the earth and the weak shall fall, kind of a thing. So it's more of a the strong will survive, the weak shall perish. And so with the Satanic Temple, the difference is that there's no mysticism whatsoever. We do not believe in the supernatural. It's that's where kind of like the atheistic Satanism comes from. It's just
And
magic.
I would have to totally agree with you. That was the one thing when I was getting way I was like 15. I was like, yeah, it's Church of Satan,
Yeah.
man. Satanic Bible.
Yeah.
This is cool. And I still like wear my jewelry and everything proudly now because I very much support kind of their message and everything. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get to the end of the Satanic Bible, there's like theories and practices in there, and then you can get the rituals book, and then they have this book, and I'm reading some of that, and I'm just like, no, you guys just ruined it for me. I can't see that
I
stuff.
had the same, and I had the same reaction. So so that's why the Church of Satan does not work for me, because where I think LaVey had a really good idea, where I think he really started out strong, that's the point in which it completely loses me. And the Satanic Temple, one of our, we have 7 tenets, and one of our tenets is to act with compassion and empathy, which the members of the Church of Satan do not. They kind of just don't have time for that nonsense. Essentially, is the vibe they give off.
So one of my ex-boyfriends was a Anton LaVey follower.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I always, and at the time, I just want everyone to know that at the time I was LDS, having grown up in having grown up in Utah, you end up being Mormon no matter what. So, at one point in your life or another, if you're part of the alternative scene. So at the time when I was a member, I had a real problem with the religion in the sense that it seemed very self-serving and selfish.
Yes.
And it just seemed like a good, not that there aren't Christians out there that do it, or any religion for that matter, but it's almost like it's
a core value.
It was a core value to be selfish and self-serving, and then on top of that I have my religion to protect me from being a dick.
Yeah, well, and I would say the best thing to say about the Church of Satan, I have nothing against them or the Church of Satan whatsoever. I think we can all be allies in the same cause, but it's a lot like, I think, this is going to sound stupid, I think Marilyn Manson said it the best. It's, you are your own God because you're responsible for your own good and evil.
Right.
So you kind of worship yourself in a way as a God. And so I think that's the core idea, and, where I believe, yes, you are absolutely responsible for your own good and evil. Church of Satan has more, the kind of that more of a self-serving attitude, and just, if I will it, it will be done.
Right.
That's a lot where the separation comes from.
And as I've gotten older and learned more about various religions, and of course I'm officially no longer a member of the LDS Church, my perspective about it changed. While I do still feel that it is very self-serving, and there's stuff that I just can't either wrap my head around with Anton LaVey, or I just don't agree with it. I know people who are followers of him, very nice people, they're great. Again, whatever you believe, more power to you. Yeah. I just personally, it didn't fly with me. But then I kind of made up my own unique religion that isn't really religion anyway, so none of the religions really fit for me. Yeah,
well, one of the other core differences and kind of what we've, as members of the Satanic Temple, have kind of come across over the years is they feel that their definition of Satanism is the one true definition of Satanism, that their Satanism is the right way, and anybody else is considered a literal devil worshiper, or they're not, or they're just kind of copycats. So unfortunately we have a bit of a strained relationship, but I really hope that does not continue to be the case, because I think we're all on the same side. I think it's like, having the same ideas, just different ways of going about it. So,
Right.
Have you ever read Adam Bukowski's biography?
Bukowski's?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a different Bukowski.
You would know him as Nergal from Behemoth.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Oh, I haven't. No, I know who you're talking about, though.
That is a great one, and he explains a lot of that too in his biography about religion and everything. He's got like a big chapter, a couple chapters on it, but awesome. And he kind of explains it that same way, why he doesn't identify with almost any religious organization, period. But
the album, The Satanist, is amazing.
It is very amazing. It's awesome, and they're coming here in April, and I'm so excited.
They are.
Should we go to a quick music break?
We should.
Alrighty.
So, I have pop-ups on the screen. It's taking me a second. Sorry, guys. So, we're going to go to, the artist is Black Rose, and the name of the song is, I believe, Tortured Soul.
Cool. We'll be back.
Yeah. I need. My heart keeps wanting more of things that I can't handle. Keep back the war inside me, inside me. Walking through the haunted hallways of my mind. Aimless can't see inside me.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Cryptic Creepshow. We've been talking witches, we've been talking religion, and we're getting back into that. So we've been on this misunderstood religion thing. Where do we want to go with this?
What? I'm trying to think of other religions that are not. So, Shalise give us some good information about the Anton LaVey Church of Satan and also the Satanic Temple and the differences between the two. I kind of defined the difference of like paganism and actual witchcraft. So
What about Scientology? You give a little like punch to Scientology. What is it?
You can't confuse that. It's just bizarre.
Very bizarre, but
okay, so is it alright if I share the story about?
Oh yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to share it or do you want me to share it?
I don't know where you're gonna go with it. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so I've known Shalise for several years, and one of her ex-boyfriends was a Scientologist, and I went to meet the guy. Great guy, really nice.
Yeah.
We got on the subject of Scientology. I don't really remember how or why.
Oh,
I was
he works for them.
He works
follows
for
He
them.
works for them. Yeah.
He had L. Ron Hubbard up on his mantle.
Yeah.
Like he was still in high school at this time, so of course he was living with his parents. But I probably started asking about it. So at the time, I'm going to school and I'm a psychology major, and I was going to Slick. So woo, Slick!
Yeah,
that
go
makes so
Brands.
much sense.
Salt Lake Community College, for those that don't know what Slick is. So I was going to college at the time, and I was going to be a psychologist. And this kid and I got into this really bad argument about Scientology and how they don't believe in psychology because psychology is the devil. And I'm like, but the principles you believe in are based off of psychologist principles. And he's like, no, they're not. And I'm like, homeboy, they are.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to school for this. Like, here, I can give you concrete examples. No, blah, blah, blah. So we got into this huge argument, and I ended up walking off, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's
essentially a layman's version of psychiatry. Have you guys seen the documentary Going Claire?
Yes.
Please
No.
do. Yeah, anybody
Yes.
who hasn't, please do that.
Where can you find it?
Well, right now, if you have an HBO subscription, you can find it. There's a ton of resources on YouTube where you can actually see interviews from former members, like high-ranking officials within the Church of Scientology, who were like the right-hand men of L. Ron Hubbard himself, and they can talk about, this is the things we did, this is, how this guy was, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, the documentary itself is just, it's a little horrifying to watch. Just to hear kind of people's different... you understand why people kind of gravitated towards it, because they don't... Because in the beginning, it's like, no, this isn't a religion, this is like a
school of philosophy.
Kind of a school of philosophy. And so what they do is essentially like talk therapy. It's like, very expensive talk therapy. And it's not until you get so far up in the organization that you find out about Lord Xenu and Thetans and that part of it. And you have to understand that L. Ron Hubbard he was a science fiction writer. A very good science fiction writer, might I add. He was an incredible writer. And so when you hear about kind of like the backstory, or kind of like their version of a creation myth, you're like, I swear to God, I've read this somewhere, and it's not. And they're like, how is this a religious text? But I mean, you can say that about any religion if you're somebody
Yeah.
So according to Wikipedia, it says Scientology is a body of beliefs and practices created in 1954 by American science fiction author L. Ron Hubbard after he developed Dianetics.
Yes.
The Dianetics Foundation entered bankruptcy, and Hubbard lost the rights to seminal publication Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health, in 1952. kind of explains the religion in a nutshell right there. He then recharacterized the subject as a religion and renamed it Scientology, retaining the terminology, doctrines, the e-meter, and the practice of auditing. Within a year, he regained the rights to the Dianetics and retained both subjects under umbrella of Church of Scientology. The thing I think that irritates me the most about Scientology, and maybe this is just because I'm a grammar Nazi and I'm also OCD, is that it's the Church of Scientology where he talks about basically the science of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
His version of mental health.
Science, yeah.
That's not actual science. Like when I hear the word Scientology, I think these are people that are like totally about Darwinism, totally about like finding facts and just all about science. Like basically an atheist's best friend. But it's not. It's
Don't they
a really
believe
bad word.
in, like Nibiru and all that as
Nibiru?
well? Some planet or something that's supposed to come and be in close proximity with the
Oh,
Earth.
I have no idea.
And that's when...
So I'm not entirely sure, but I think the best adaptation of Scientology, in my opinion, is the Simpsons episode where, oh crap, what episode is it? I am the leader. The leader is great. The leader is good. Hold on. I'm trying to Google it right now. I know people out there who are Simpsons fan are like, it's this one. It's this one.
Mary.
The Joy of Sext. Not sex. Sext. As in a section or a sector. Anyway. So yeah, the Joy of Sext. Basically, there's a cult. I kind of think they also took in a lot of aspects of like the Hell Bop people. Is anybody? I know Shalice knows, but is anybody else in this room Hell Bop?
Not really.
Haley's
a little
comment.
bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna get into that. Anyway, so they kind of took some of that in Scientology, but if you haven't seen this episode, you should because it's hilarious. It basically, what do you think? Do you think it's a good adaptation of Scientology in film?
Yes. I'm biased, but
I think it is because it has a lot of those aspects. But so the Haley's Comet incident. Oh man, I feel so old now.
You have those moments. You have those moments and you're like, really?
Who's the oldest in the room? Is it Mary?
It's me.
yeah.
I'm pretty confident. Heaven's Gate. Okay. So this happened probably, well, obviously 1997. So this happened back in 1997. I was 12 at the time. So basically this person, Marshall Applewhite, he basically formed this cult group where he believed that Halley's Comet brought about essentially heaven, and that the only way to get there, like, it was heaven orbiting Earth and it was coming back because Halley's Comet only comes every 75 years. So it was coming back, and he got a group of people to believe him in saying, if you commit suicide, like a ritualistic suicide with me, we will all go to heaven, which is trailing behind Halley's Comet. And we have to do it on the night that the comet reaches this point in the sky so that we can enter into Heaven's Gate. So he got 39 people to follow him.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And they did a ritualistic suicide with basically like, I would have to look it up, but like rat poison and things like that. I mean, there were certain poisons, I don't know which ones, but they basically like put it, I think, in Kool-Aid or applesauce or something.
Yeah, it wasn't Kool-Aid. That was the...
That was the other cult.
That's
Cult.
Jonestown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim Jones.
So it's Jones. So there's more. It's disturbing that in America we've had 2 of these cults. Not.
There's, I mean, we can keep going on.
We keep
with all
going.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, pretty much any
Manson
organized religion is
family, all this.
is a cult. So, yeah, it was applesauce. They put it in applesauce. They ate it. They killed themselves. 15 went first. Next group cleaned up after them. 15 more went, and then 9 more, and they cleaned up. And then someone was filming this entire thing, and you can actually go to
Did
YouTube.
he go last?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I can't remember, but I think he was actually one of the first ones because he was basically saying that he was a Jesus of sorts. You can actually Google Marshall Applewhite on YouTube and watch these videos. They're really, if you watch him, like, he contradicts himself a lot in what he says, which really makes it interesting to me that he even got 39 people to follow him. Like, 39 is not a lot in terms of a cult, but
39
39 too
people
many.
to go
kill themselves,
That's
yeah.
a
Yeah.
pretty big feat.
Yep.
Yeah, there's also a really good song called Hellbop by my good friends the Stellar Corpses, so you can YouTube that as well because it's a great song. So
Have you guys ever seen Religulous?
Yes.
Did you like
Many
it?
times, yes.
Enjoy the hell out of it. You haven't seen it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you gotta watch it.
I loved it. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, Bill Maher is one of those people. You either really like him or you really don't. I don't think there's anybody who has...
Wait. It's where he goes and like tries to contradict Christians, or
Well, no,
is
he goes and he interviews people of different faiths. So basically, it's a documentary, and he goes and he talks about, you know, the history of religion, and then he goes to talks to people of different faiths and just says, you know, why do you believe in this? And
I think I've seen parts of it.
Yeah.
I
The
think
only
I've seen
faith he
parts.
didn't get a interview with was
Scientology.
LDS.
Oh no.
They kicked him off. Remember, they're like, "Get
That's
the
right.
hell
No,
out of
he was
here!"
filming. He was filming at the
Yes.
downtown temple, and but he did get to interview two former Mormons, so he did get that. And I think they put it fairly. I've never been LDS. I kind of grew up just your generic Christian, but with that comes the fact that, you know, when you grow up in Utah and you're not LDS, you're automatically, I mean, you're treated as if you were like an atheist or a, you know, Satanist.
Yep.
You know, you're not a part of the group. So that's kind of, you know, I've always had that.
Which is contradictive by itself.
Yeah, it really is. But you
by
know,
the religion.
yeah,
It's,
it really is.
I
But
think that can be said about a lot of religions.
Yeah,
and
and like to be said, like we're here in Utah for everyone who's listening in Carolina, wherever.
Yeah.
So that's the thing here. You go back to Kentucky, and it's like if you're not a Southern Baptist back there, you're hellfire and brimstone.
there's a reason we have to differentiate between Utah Mormons and everyone else.
yes.
That
Every
is-
other Mormon,
That
yeah.
is a true.
What I understand
sentiment.
is there's the Mormon religion and the Mormon culture.
Yes.
And there's the culture here, and that's what gives everything a bad rep.
Yeah.
I haven't
So-
heard it explained that way, but I think that's an excellent description.
Yeah.
That it is essentially a culture.
It's a culture.
And it really is, because
Yeah.
even
Funeral
down to
potatoes, man.
Huh?
Funeral potatoes.
Well, true. And not only that, but even down to like the way that some of the members dress and the
Right.
way they do their hair and the way and the things that they're interested in. Not that that's bad. Like anybody who happens to be LDS Mormon.
There's there is a set idea of what it is to be within that religion, what's expected
Right.
of them. They have to, you know, look, act, you know, a certain way. And I see it's funny because I do work with a lot of people who are LDS, and, you know, with any, it's bizarre to me. I hear a lot of people who say are kind of more like me. But they, you know, they grew up LDS, they have LDS families, their kids go to church, you know, their spouses are devout. And then they're kind of the ones who are just like, they're like the Jack Mormons, you know, they really want to be. They're just like, I don't think, you know, I should be this restrictive. But then you ask them, so why are you so hardlined on this? And they're like, well, it centers me and it keeps my behavior in check, is essentially what I hear all the time. And I'm like, that just sounds so...
It's funny that you say that. So I hesitate to get on this subject because we are in Utah, and each one of us knows many people of the faith. And again, I just want to say there's nothing wrong with it, like in terms of
There's nothing
like
wrong
if,
with your own personal
right
faith.
like if you believe in it, more power to you. I've been down that road. It was not for me, so I went back the way I came. So I just want to make sure that we're not trying to offend anybody, and if we do, we're really sorry. We're just trying to have an intellectual we're just trying to have an intellectual debate about religion in general. With that note, something interesting that happened to me is so I grew up in a home where my parents were from Utah, and my mom was baptized basically because that's what her parents wanted her to do, because history. Apparently my grandmother was the daughter of one of the, I can't remember what they're called, something, Daughters of Pioneers or something like that. It's this thing in Utah.
Exactly right. Mormon Daughters of Pioneers.
So that was my grandmother. Obviously my mom got baptized because that's what her parents wanted. My father did go to seminary in high school, only because back then, this was in the 50s, you were able to get credit for having going to seminary. It was actual accredited school credit, and it was an easy class, so he went. But neither of my parents were religious, and they were kind of like, you're free to believe whatever you believe. My parents are pretty liberal in that manner. So a lot of my siblings got baptized because they ended up being friends with the Mormon kids, and the Mormon kids would introduce them to their parents. The parents would want them to get baptized, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of fell into that too when I was 14, hanging out, going to the church activities and everything. Well, why don't you get baptized? So I get baptized. Not that I didn't believe it at the time, because I did. When years later, when I was a full-fledged adult, and this was probably when I was 24, 25, I decided that I was going to have my records removed, which is taboo. Mm. It's you're basically, the way that it is viewed is that you're basically damning yourself. Yep. You've chosen to remove yourself from the light of God, essentially. Yeah. So I had to run around trying to get these records removed. I finally get my bishop at the time to say, yeah, I'll put in the note to the church records. Get a letter back from the church history building, and is like, we would like you to reconsider because of this, that, and the other. Yeah. So I wrote back, and I said, while I understand you're worried about the future of my soul, I do want to remind you of a couple things. First one is, I have no intent to live in your religion. I have no intent in living up to your standards. Mm-hmm. None of it. So I'm going to be a bad example for your church when people ask me what my religion is. On top of that, the biggest law that you should obey according to your own doctrine is free will. It is my free will to remove myself from this religion. I would ask that you remove it at my request, because if not, you are going against your own doctrine. Next letter I got was, your records have been removed. Yeah. If you ever choose to join again, please let us know.
That's amazing, because I've actually had, not that I've known people, but there's been like articles and stuff of people that have literally had to hire attorneys to get that done, to get removed from the records. It's that
well, during the mass resignation, there were a few lawyers who actually offered their services for free, saying, if you want us to take this, take the legal route, if they deny you removal, then we will take care of this for free.
Because that's essentially taking around your own rights away,
exactly.
It's
and that's I wonder, and I've heard that it's difficult. I have another friend who did a similar thing. She grew up LDS. When she became an adult in her 20s, she decided to get her records removed. She had to jump through a whole bunch of loops and stuff. I get it. They don't want us to damn our souls. I understand that. And I think I almost wonder if, because I said what I said in the way that I said it, that I was able to bypass all of that by using their own doctrine against them, in a sense, to be like, you can't do this to me, and I know you can't do this to me, so why don't we just save each other?
You were using their knowledge
knowledge against them. Yeah. And I think that if there are people out there who maybe have experienced more to life and they don't want to be LDS, it worked for me, so maybe it'll work for you too. But I've heard that it becomes this huge ordeal, which is really weird. And for people who are very high up in the church, for example, if a stake president or a member of the 12 or whatever wanted to remove their records, I could kind of see how they would go the legal route with it. But for just a member that hadn't gone...
If you're very high up, all you got to do is fuck around a little bit and they'll excommunicate you.
That's true.
Yeah. All you have to do is be a woman who wants to hold priesthood.
There you go. See you later.
Yeah, a little bit. Not gonna lie.
There's... in hindsight, there's a lot that I don't understand about that religion, and I just want to put it out there for anybody who's listening, who may be friends of mine or friends of any of our guests. I am aware of what I've done, so please don't come knocking on my door asking me to reconsider, because I will go to bat with what I know of the doctrine. So if you want to spend 2 hours debating this and being really offended by some of the stuff I say, then absolutely try to reconvince me. Yeah. Otherwise,
I think the biggest thing is live and let live with religion.
Exactly.
And that's where I come in. Is that's kind of I'm not against the religion. I'm not against anything. I'm just saying, if it makes you happy, it makes you happy, and just go with that.
Right. That's a lot of my core beliefs. It's I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if you're an atheist. I don't care if you're a hardcore Darwin follower. I don't care if you're based in science, whatever. The existence of an afterlife and the existence of a deity has neither been proven nor disproven. nor totally disproven.
Well, actually, according to Richard Dawkins, just
No, I'm saying it neither has been proven nor disproven in an entirety to where there's no more questions about it.
Yeah.
So there's so many scientific evidence for various subjects where scientists will say, we don't know what this is, but this is what it does. This is how often it appears. So applying that knowledge to religion, it's like, you can't prove it or disprove it. So I just feel like everybody has the right to believe whatever they believe in, because if it works for you, great.
Exactly.
And if you don't want to believe in anything, more power to you. Like, whatever.
Exactly.
It's your journey in life. It's not my place to say you should believe or shouldn't believe, or it's this, that, the other.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Well, we got 15 minutes left in this show, and I think we've touched all our topics pretty well. I want to ask our two guests, whatever movie comes to mind first, what is your favorite horror movie since you are on the Cryptic Creepshow right now?
Why?
Come on.
People ask me that all the
You can
time.
pick multiple ones, or you can just pick like a genre that you like.
Just it's only because I'm a hardcore hunter, so people ask me that question all the time, and it's like, do I really?
Have you seen the house that October built?
No, no, and I don't know
Oh.
why I haven't seen it. I'm so busy lately. It's hard to get my attention on certain things.
Yep, I got the thumbs up from your boyfriend, so...
Oh, traitor. Anyways, well, so far, I love Nightmare on Elm, only because Freddy Krueger is just kind of a interesting character. I know, I understand people's, thing on him, but I think he's kind of just an interesting character. On top of, I'm a little biased because, again, that is how I met my boyfriend, is he was Freddy Krueger that night.
Aww.
And just something about it. I'm like, I kind of like this guy.
Something about his charred face.
Yeah.
And his
Exactly.
nails
Don't
just
it's a
drove
haunter
you
thing.
wild.
it's a haunter thing. You don't know. Okay, it's a haunter thing. That and probably, people might hate me for this, but the dead silence about the puppets and
I
stuff.
love that movie.
It was.
A lot of people
It's
hate
either
it.
they hate it or they love it. But I love how creepy it is.
I was
like,
disappointed when I saw that movie.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge Freddy fan. And when you say Nightmare on Elm Street, are you talking about the 1984? Or,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause
like classic.
I was going to be surprised if you were like, oh, the remake. I was going to be like, what?
No, I don't even think I've seen the remake. To be honest, I don't remember seeing it.
You're
so.
not missing much. Yeah.
Okay.
Like your
Yeah.
boyfriend's like, yeah, I agree with him.
Do you want to be on the show? I mean,
We
he's
can
just
always have you
smiling.
guys back.
Definitely, we will.
He's just trying to keep entertained because we put him to work today.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, he was all like, I can go get a haircut or something.
Nope, we're going to put you to work managing our soundboard. Shalise, what's your favorite?
I have to go with the all-time cult classic, The Exorcist.
Yes.
I have to. It's there is something about a young, innocent child fucking herself with a cross that and then making her mom say, "Eat me."
Not even censored.
Yeah. There's just something about it that stays with you always. And ever since I saw it for the first time, it just, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. And yeah, it's just.
Have you read the book?
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
Oh yeah.
Loved
But
it.
yeah, I remember the first time I saw it and just being just scared out of my mind, thinking, and of course at the time I thought demons were real, so I was absolutely horrified that could happen to me. So it just I have to watch it again like every single year, at least once a year, just because it's so good.
By the way, the actress is really lovely.
David Blair.
She is. Yeah, I did get to meet her, and she's very lovely.
I'm upset that we did not go and meet her, because she did. She did come to
She
Comic-Con.
was just like completely bored. Nobody wanted to talk to her. So I'm like,
So the only Comic-Con that we've been to is the one where Cassandra Peterson, Elvira, and the Munsters were on. And the same thing happened. We went
They're
to go say hi to the
bored.
Munsters, and nobody was there. And I was like,
serious?
Is it because
Nobody went and saw
Comic-Con is
Linda
more of
Blair?
that superhero?
It is.
Marvel,
Like, it's...
yeah.
It is. I mean, there's less...
I've never been to one, so I
Or
can't
who's
say.
the hot
but-
meal ticket at the time?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
honestly
that's-
think it was just because the people that were there were a lot younger than me and probably didn't grow up watching
yeah,
Monsters.
and it's kind of sad because I talked to her for maybe like 30 minutes,
That's
and
amazing.
people. if you ever go to one of those, look for the ones that have the empty booths, because
Right.
they're the ones that are going to appreciate you. Usually they give you free autographs and stuff and let you take pictures.
Or they have reasonable prices.
Yeah. So
Yeah, well, and I think the best one I ever went to was actually FantasyCon. We got to speak to a lot. We got to speak to a lot of the guys from The Hobbit and Lord of the Ring movies.
and I didn't get to do that one. I was so sad.
They all sat and talked with us for so long, and they were some of the coolest guys,
Right?
And we actually have their Lego characters. So we got pictures of them holding their little Lego.
Oh, that's
characters.
cute.
It was amazing, and I just
They're the best ones to talk to.
they really are.
Because they're just like, I'm bored here and I just want to talk to people.
I couldn't believe that there was nobody going and talking. Of course, they all went and talked to who plays Samwise Gamgee. What's his name?
I know Simon Pegg was there.
Boo, Simon Pegg.
Sean Astin.
Oh, thank you, boyfriend,
Yeah,
for
thank you,
mouthing
boyfriend.
that.
Thank you, her boyfriend. Sean Astin. He was. We got to actually talk to him for quite. I mean, and he was. He's obviously one of the more notable
Yeah, he is.
ones.
He is.
So he had a lot longer line, but he even sat and talked with us for I think like 10-15 minutes, and he was such a delight. I have
It's
such
incredible.
a crush on him because of that.
I would have been like, Goonies never die.
Yes.
Seeing him.
I didn't
Yes.
utter that at all because I knew that he probably is like, he's about 2 more of those away from putting a gun in his mouth. Like
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I get
would.
exhausted fast.
Yeah, I
and
would.
I
mean,
don't blame
he's
him.
so sweet and wonderful. I bet you anything if I did say that, he'd just kind of laugh it off because he seems like that kind of guy. But he was great, and everyone else was. Really
I did the
nice,
photo
too, so.
up with him last year, and I'm like, do you want to hold the bunny? And he was excited about it. I have a little undead bunny that's covered in blood, and I destroyed it. Anyways, and he was excited about it, but his picture kind of showed how tired he was.
I know, yeah.
He was just so exhausted.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like they're cool and fun to talk to, but you gotta kind of think about how tired they can get.
Yeah.
Well, they're basically put on display like animals at
Yeah.
thrift shops.
Yeah.
That was how so we bought the photo op to with James Tiberius Kirk, and he was literally sitting in a chair and he could barely muster a smile. So they were basically having people come through, and you had to stand there, they take a picture, and then they usher you out so
Yep.
the new people can come. Because I wanted to go up to him and say, and shake his hand and say, Denny Crane. Because
Yeah.
Boston Legal is like one of my favorite shows ever. And I knew nobody else was going to go up to him and say that, and I didn't even get that opportunity.
Right.
I was so
That's-
bummed.
The autographs are the best to do that.
The same one that we went to, Patrick Stewart was coming to, right? And
That line was huge.
it was so huge,
Yeah.
and I wanted to go, and I was going to bring my Nightmare Before Christmas soundtrack and have him sign it because he was the original narrator for the soundtrack. When Disney
He
went,
was?
he was. And if you buy the original motion picture soundtrack, he is the narrator. He narrates the beginning and he narrates the end as well. So when they did the soundtrack, they asked him to do it, and he did. But then when they went to go do the movie, they had somebody else do the beginning because there was something about they weren't able to, due to time constraints, they weren't able to do like the full poem part that he reads.
Yeah.
And so I was going to be like, I'm going to be the only one that knows that he was the original one, and he's going to be all impressed because and he's Professor X, and I love the X-Men.
Yeah.
So I was all excited. We get there, the line's like 8 feet
Ridiculous.
long or whatever,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and it's $200 to meet him, and I'm like, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
Like, we're
Yeah.
done.
And that's crazy to me. I've gone to some conventions and stuff, but the best experience I ever had with a celebrity was not a paid event. It was actually at your guys' old work, Rocky Point. They had Gunnar Hansen there, and he was just sitting there hanging out. Lots of people had no idea who he was. I got out of the chainsaw scene like scared out of my wits, and I'm like, that's Gunnar Hansen. Fear went all the way, and I'm running over there like a fanboy. Autograph, please. And he talked to me for damn near an hour, and it was like no line, no nothing.
And people are incredible. I just
They-
have
Yeah.
to say that.
I think a lot of people, I think it has to do with generational. Like, I think pretty much everybody, generations after ours, that's not within the mid-90s or whatever, they just don't, they go with whatever's trendy. They don't have like the whole nostalgia background that we do.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to go to the 2016 World Horror Convention?
I want to go. I heard it was really expensive though.
$180 for one person.
Oh wow.
For what? Like, what am I getting for that $180?
That's what I'm saying is I just had this discussion with, of course, my boyfriend. I love him, just saying. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited about this. This is our world. This is what we do. And I go to get tickets because I was going to do it for Valentine's Day. And it was $180 on top of, even if you buy like a 2-pack, they still don't give you a discount.
Is there like a...
But are you watching movies the whole time? I don't understand.
I think there's film stuff, there's a literature. It almost feels like...
Like a camp, like Sundance or something?
Yeah, something like that that's more towards like who were actually involved in the films and involved in the literature. It seemed like a high society kind of type of deal where
it is
people like us.
Yeah, it is in Provo.
It is in Provo.
That
yes.
does. I'm not saying that like to be a dick. I'm saying like Provo is one of those smaller metro towns in Utah that it generally has like richer people living there. So like $180 ticket isn't going to be
kind of think of like charity balls that the mayors go
yeah
to.
exactly
It's kind of something to that style of high society type of thing.
I don't know.
Well, screw that then.
Yeah, no, I was
$180.
completely turned off by that.
It depends on what it has in it, because like I want to get my book published, so like if there's publicists there, like I might go just to like
possible.
network. But
there's not a lot of information.
I need
on
to
the
know what
website.
it gets me. Like if it gets me like if I get a dinner and I get a bunch of movies and like cool shit, then yeah, I'll probably go. But
yeah, you get in the door and that's about it. There's workshops, but those cost extra.
That's really lame.
Yeah.
Well, that just took all my excitement and went...
I'm sorry. I have to inform
I'm going back
people.
down to Texas now. Screw it.
Well, I do want to tell you, though, Marcus, is that Rue Morgue, along with Anchor Bay Entertainment, is launching the first ever Dark Carnival Expo. This is originally what... there's another expo that they do up there, and I can't remember what it's called. This is geared solely towards the horror genre. So it's not like any other Comic-Con where you have like fantasy and like
kind of a general
fantasy and science fiction and all that. It's just for horror.
Sweet.
And then it's the first one, and Guillermo del Toro is going to be one of the featured guests, as well as Bill Moseley.
Wow.
Oh, Bill Moseley.
Wow.
Yeah, and then of
me.
course there's also like Rue Morgue members that are going to. This is up in Canada, of course. I think it's in.
Everybody gets all like, yes,
yeah, I'm all excited, and again it just went.
It's
climax,
in Hamilton,
and then
Ontario.
You say something,
and it's in July. But if you still want to go, it's July. You still have several months to go.
I'm still going to Texas.
So what? It can't be as like it's got to be around the same price to travel to Texas from Utah as it is Canada, or just a little bit more.
Yeah, but the Texas Horror Convention's just awesome. Their lineup this year is just incredible.
Is it just in Texas, or is it one of those traveling?
It's just one time in Texas. The guest list is amazing. The ticket prices are nowhere near $190 damn dollars. But
it's traveling to Texas from Utah.
Well.
We just need to make things bigger, and then you and I will just start our own horror
There
convention
we
here in
go,
Salt
right?
Lake. We're like Vegas. Maybe we'll go to Vegas because it's close and it's a bigger...
We'll work on it. I mean, we're trying now. We're coming to the tail end of our show, though.
Yep.
Want to do a little outro?
Yeah, can you ladies introduce yourselves and...
Yes.
Give a recap of what you do.
Madam Moody, I'm cosplayer, costume designer, and haunt whore, apparently.
And I am Shalise Blythe. I am a satanic activist, and I am currently trying to get the community together here in Salt Lake City. You can visit our Facebook page at Satanic Salt Lake City. We're trying to get, Satanists, atheists, secular activists, anybody who's interested in... things that I'm associated with the Satanic Temple, so kind of the social works that we do. Plus, we want to kind of cater to what's plaguing Utah, and the things that we want to do with our community, and kind of to make our experience here better. So anyway, you can visit us there, and we post all the goings on and getting that together. So check us out.
Sweet. Go over there and check it out. And I am the very morbid Marcus. And
I'm Mary Mortem. Thank you, ladies, for joining our show today. Thank you guys for listening.
you.
Keep it spooky and tune in next week.
we'll see you guys later.